Yo, this is your boy Marvin Sapp, and guess what? You're watching Gospel Goodies TV.
Gospel goodies.
Gospel goodies. Gospel goodies.
This is Gospel Goodies.
How are you doing, Mr. Bishop Marvin Sapp? How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
Pretty good, thank you. First, congrats on the album Chosen Vessel.
Thank you. Yes.
Out now. How you feeling about that?
I feel pretty good. Now that it's done and it's out, and people have had the opportunity to hear it, and prayerfully, hopefully, been blessed by it. It feels good to be able to deliver my 13th record in 31 years. So it's cool.
And I think this one is extra special too because you just picked up everything and moved straight to Texas to be the pastor at Chosen Vessel Cathedral. So What was that motivating reason for you to say yes, and why'd you choose to name the album the same?
Well, I mean, the motivating factor for me to say yes, it actually I was forced to do it. I guess that's the best way to describe it. I tried to stay in Michigan, and for 2 years, God kept telling me that it was time to go. And it wasn't that it was a bad situation, because the church was doing extremely well. And I think that's the reason why I wanted to stay, because of the fact that I was about to pay off the church. I had never taken a salary from the church. And I'm like, okay, now I can finally win, finally start getting, taken care of a little bit. And now after I pay everything off, God says, okay, it's time for you to go. And I'm like, this ain't cool. So now I got to leave this, all that I done worked so hard for over the last 16 years in the hands of somebody who didn't have to work for it. And then having to move to Texas, I had other options, believe it or not. A lot of different churches contacted me once I told God yes. And I settled here. And the reason why I settled here is because this for me was the best fit. It's not a mega church. People thought I was moving to a mega church. It's a large building, but when I got here, we had like 250 active members. The pastor was older. I had some form and some level of connection to him. And actually, I call him Uncle Richard because his father actually founded the church I grew up in, and he was the assistant pastor for years. So, it was just a perfect fit. A lot of people think that I named the record Chosen Vessel because of the simple fact that that's the name of my church. But that's not why I named it Chosen Vessel. I named it Chosen Vessel simply because I had the opportunity to reflect and look over my life. And specifically over the last 10 years, I said, you know what, God, I'm flawed. God, I done messed up a lot of different times. I've done stuff that people have seen, things that folks haven't seen. But even in spite of all of that, you still chose me. And that's an amazing thing. And I wanted to somehow, some way, let people know that you're chosen as well, that none of us are perfect. All of us are flawed. All of us have messed up. All of us have missed it. But God, knowing our flaws and our frailties, he still chose us. So to me, that's a real deep thing.
For sure. And you look chosen on the album cover. Let's get into the suit you were wearing.
Yeah, my kids, believe it or not, told me, say, Dad, you need to, stop looking so preacherish on your album covers. Like, we know you're a man of God. Let's turn it up a little bit. So when the stylist brought in that salmon colored suit with that shirt, my daughters were here at the house, and the first thing they said was, that's it. That's what we want you to do. That's the album cover right there. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God. And then they said, and wear some sneakers. Don't put on no church shoes. Put it on with sneakers. So they threw some sneakers with it, and I was like, well, okay, if y'all saying this is what we got to do, this is what we got to do. And initially, I wanted to dye my beard back black because I've been dyeing it black for maybe about 10 years. And it's like, nope, no black, keep it gray. So when my 21-year-old and my 23-year-old said this is the look and wanted me to stretch, I said, okay, I'll go ahead and stretch. But I've gotten rave reviews. So, the fact that I was able to young it up a little bit, I guess that was a good thing.
You know what's crazy though? Like right now, like your style is so amazing. So I would have thought that was you anyway.
Well, it is sort of kind of me, to be honest with you. I like the outfit, but yeah, I've always tried to be stylish, but at the same token, I want to be age appropriate as well. So, I don't want to be dressing like no kids, like 20-year-olds, but
well, you already know.
I'm 53, so I want to look it at least, but keep it trendy.
Well, you already know you coming from the D.
Without question, it's that Midwest.
You're always gonna be stylish. I don't care where we move you to.
That Midwestern thing is for real. You know what I'm saying? That Midwestern thing is for real. So we try, we trying to keep it, just tasteful. Tasteful.
Yeah, I got a barber. He's from Detroit. He been cutting my hair. He been cutting my hair for like 20 years. And I invited him to events. I don't care if it's a football game. He come in toes. Like, you got hard body. He's like, that's how we do in the D, baby. That's how we do.
I don't understand it. I don't get it. I really don't. But hey, man, we don't even go to the gas station without being dressed right. It's like you ain't doing nothing but pumping gas. Yeah, man. But you never know who might pull up on you. Like, who might see you. So you gotta make sure that you keep it fly all the time.
That's what's up. I respect that. You know what? I'm gonna take something for that note. I'm gonna be sharp from now on. I promise. Listen, I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go back before I ask this new question. I'm gonna ask about something spiritual, but I want to ask you: were you chosen, or did you audition for the role in the Scarecrow in high school?
I actually auditioned, and I can't believe you even know about that. Man, let me tell you. These are facts. I'm not making this stuff up. I was extremely talented when I was a young man, but because my character was flawed, a lot of opportunities I didn't get because people assumed that I thought I was all that, which I really did. So in high school, I lost every talent show. I never won a talent show. I was probably the best singer in my school, but they put me in the worst choir. I auditioned to be a part of this jazz group, which was called I think they were called Shades of Blue. And I didn't make it. So they put me in the chorale. And when I auditioned for the Scarecrow, the only reason why I ended up getting it, honestly, is because a whole lot of people boycotted the play because they felt like, nobody was going to come and see The Wiz. Because I went to a school that was 60-40, 60% white, 40% black, and 40% minority. And we had like only a few upperclassmen that auditioned for the play. And then the majority were freshmen in high school. So our freshmen in high school that auditioned for the play, they were playing like 4 and 5 roles in the play because nobody would audition. So I ended up getting the position as the Scarecrow by default. As a matter of fact, one of the guys that was in the music department, black guy who shall remain nameless, he actually told me that the only reason why I got it because he didn't audition because he was boycotting the play, standing with, the white counterparts because the music department was more or less ran by the white community. So amazingly enough, that play sold out 2 weeks. It was only supposed to run for 3 days, but because it was so good, it sold out for 2 straight weeks, and it went down in history. But I think what's so amazing to me though about it is I auditioned for the part. Nobody ran against me. I auditioned for the part thinking that I was going to sing Michael Jackson's "You Can't Win," and I ended up singing "I Was Born on the day before yesterday. I had holes in my shoes. I was crying the blues, and I didn't have no place to stay. But I know I'm gonna make it this time. This time I'm gonna make it." The actual song that was sung in the actual play, The Wiz. And I can't believe I remember it.
Wow, that's good. That was good.
That was 30. Wow, I was 17. So that was a long time ago.
And you actually made it too.
I actually did. I actually made it.
Well, testimony right there.
I don't know if I actually made it. I've been successful. I don't believe you ever really make it.
No.
I don't. Because I think that if you ever get to a place where you feel like you arrived, you stop going after it. So, I don't consider myself as making it. I consider myself being successful in the industry that I'm in, but there's so much more. So, don't become complacent, and absolutely don't be satisfied. Keep going after it. So I think that, I think I'll make it once I take my last breath.
Oh wow, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
That's good. That's real good. So let me ask you this: when you wrote these songs like "New Thing," "Best in Me," "Never Would Have Made It," what's it like when God whispers those words before you start saying them? Like, are you ever torn between what He's saying and what you may be thinking?
See, I'm a different type of songwriter. My songs always happen in moments of worship, to be perfectly honest with you. Never Would Have Made It happen during a worship service. It actually happened the Sunday after I buried my father, 15 years ago, believe it or not. So, Best in Me, it actually happened in a worship service. At a men's conference, a preacher preached a message at my church, and he was talking about David. And he was specifically saying, isn't it amazing how God saw something in David that his own father didn't see in him? And I just started singing, "He saw the best in me," when everyone else around me could only see the worst in me. And the same thing happened with New Thing. A preacher was preaching at my church here in Texas in revival, and he said something, and I had the mic, and I started singing, "I'm ready for a new thing." And it just, next thing I know, it birthed into a song. And so my writing, I do sit down and write songs. Like my big songs, they're always birthed out of worship moments. So, New Thing in itself, I mean, that thing got something on it. And it's just an amazing song. And whenever you sing a song that just kills your church, you know that it has something on it.
Yeah, you have a new song on the album called "Undefeated," and that kind of killed me. That gave me chills. So I was going to ask you too. Yeah, what was the atmosphere like on that one?
Oh my! I mean, it was nuts. I mean, because this record, what I tried to do is I really tried to stretch and offer some different looks musically. The young man that actually wrote the song, or the two young men that actually wrote the song with me, I've known them for years. One, I was his pastor, Lucius Hoskins. He was born and raised in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And he also travels with me as a lead player all over the world. We've been to Africa, we've been to, we've been to South Africa, we've been to Nigeria, we've been to England. There are so many places that we've been to together, but I've known him since he was a little bitty boy. And the other young name, Marcus McFarland, when I first opened my a Christian nightclub in Michigan, he was like the first person to come and perform. So, you know, Lucius was talking about how, you know, he was watching the movie Black Panther. And while watching the movie Black Panther, God literally spoke to him and talked about how the only person that's truly undefeated is me. So he put the melody together and started writing, and I was like, wow, this is a great song. And he gave it to me almost 2 years ago to finish. And I told him, I said, just give me some time. I'm going to record it. And Undefeated is probably one of the biggest songs on this record.
Yeah, I definitely felt that.
Mm-hmm.
And even in Thank You For It All, you say thank you for it all, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the small. So it's one good, one bad, one ugly, one small thing that happened to you this year in 2020.
Ooh. A good thing that happened to me is I learned God from a different perspective, you know. And you guys may understand this. And I'm trying to make sure I say it right. I really learned that God is not only a supplier, but he's also a sustainer. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, when the pandemic hit, it cut off everything that I did. I mean, my whole life was travel. My whole life was singing. My whole life was preaching. That's how I made my living. So when that ended, I was sitting back trying to figure out, what am I going to do? But what God showed me is that he was not only my supplier that kept my life moving, but he also is my sustainer that kept my life moving. So, you know, the good and the bad thing, well, the good thing is I learned that he was a supplier and that he was a sustainer. I can honestly say no bad things have happened, other than the church shutting down. But that was a blessing to me, because honestly, that gave me an opportunity to reimagine church. You know, I got down here 13 months ago, and 6 months into my pastorate, my church closed down. I really didn't know people. But what it did is it pulled me into a season and a moment of consecration where I had to pray more, I had to read more, I had to understand the CDC laws and guidelines. I had to really position my church to understand this virtual space of church, making sure that all of them were equipped as it pertains to giving technologies, making sure that everybody understood how to work YouTube. And because again, I took over a 100-year-old church. And when I took over this 100-year-old church, I had to fit it, you know, literally go in and restructure systems and things of that nature to ensure that my members were able to hear the word and receive a word without having to leave their kitchen tables. So technologically, we went in and just ripped out the whole pulpit, made it so that it's an LED wall. I put like a 16-foot LED wall in it, lights, new cameras, new sound, new everything. And for 6 months, we just did virtual. Now we're doing at least 125 people in the worship experience a Sunday. And I mean, the bad part is the church closed, but then God revealed to me, well, the church ain't really closed, Marvin. The pews have just changed. So before, the pews were in the church, now the pews is at the coffee table. So I'm just grateful for everything. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly, the great and the small, times of victory and when I fall. I'm still standing tall. So, you know, the reality is that it's all about perspective and perception, how you view your life situations, which will determine how you think about where you are.
That's good. So let me ask you this: perspective and perception.
Mm-hmm.
What would you consider what is the message now for those like yourself to carry ministry into the next?
Well, I think one of the things that we have to do is we have to be open to these new models, that we can't be so stuck in how things were that we don't embrace how things are. So many, as bad as I want to get back into the normal, what used to be normal style of ministry and church, where you have everybody sitting in the sanctuary, we have to come to grips with the fact that many of us are reaching more people now than we've ever reached before. On Sundays at my church, streaming on a Sunday, we might have 50 to 70,000 views. There's no way possible I put 50 to 70,000 people in my church. So there's no need for me to be saying, well, I can't wait till the church doors open again. The church doors have opened. People are sitting, they're viewing, they're watching. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that our worship experiences are not just fluff, because folks can click you off and they can go to the next church service and you don't even know it. So now what we have to do is we have to make sure that there is a clear, concise word that's not only empowering, but impactful and entertaining. So there are so many things that we have to do in order to ensure and to make sure that we are ministering to the masses and able to keep their attention. And I'm excited about it, because just reimagining and being able to do these types of things, this is the new normal. So there ain't no need of us thinking about going back. We need to make sure that, just as we're doing StreamYard right now, we need to make sure that we as individuals are doing things that are entertaining, that's visual, as well as ministering to those in the pews. So now we have a twofold responsibility. And I think if we do those things successfully, again, let me just remind y'all, a 100-year-old church. I took over for a pastor that had been pastoring the church for 40 years. So the pandemic did nothing but help me to technologically bring our church into the space that we need to bring it into, simply because if I didn't, our church would have closed down.
Well, God is always on time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he knows what he's doing. I mean, he definitely understands the size of the time. So, while everybody is so excited about church doors opening and us getting back into our normal worship experience, don't be so focused on getting back there that you forget the thousands that may be watching you. So I'm like this, I want them to come back. But while they're coming back, I'm still building a set for those that watch us via streaming, because I don't want to lose them either.
That's good. So watching you via streaming, I have one last question, and of course, this is in the forefront of my mind, and it's about this racism.
Oh, yeah.
You're given the opportunity, and God's going to give you bigger opportunities. I see that happening. What is your message? What would you say to convey peace and love?
Well, let me just say this. I grew up in the 70s. I was born in 1967. I can remember, by the time of 1972, I was 5. So there are things that I remember in the 70s growing up. I grew up in a season in the time when police brutality was really real. My uncle, James Edward Riley, actually got killed by police in their custody when I was a kid. So, I understand when people talk about systemic racism, when they talk about police brutality, I talk about it from a personal experience. This man lived with us. He lived with us. And my mother told me a story And she asked me, did I remember Uncle James? And I told her I did. And she said, remember, he got killed. It was my only brother. I said, Mom, I remember what happened. I remember him calling my mom and telling my mother while he was in custody that they're going to kill me. And then he also told her exactly what to make him to wear in his casket. And my mother was like, James, you crazy. You're going to be fine. Ain't nobody going to kill you. Well, the next day he was dead. And my mother, who was a seamstress, she made his outfit and made him a suit, and that's what we buried him in. But my point is that when you look at where we were then and where we are now, the truth of the matter is that the problem is the system. And that's why it's important in this season that we go to the ballot box. Because if we can't change the laws, we need to change the lawmakers. Once you change the lawmakers, then you can change the laws. So with systemic racism being a real issue, with, police brutality in the urban community being a real issue, even last night, okay, let me just go ahead and drop the bomb. We had the opportunity to watch, our President of the United States, along with our Vice President, have a definite dialogue about what's going on from a systemic racism standpoint, and having the talk. There is a definite, without question, disconnect between the candidates. We got one candidate who says, I understand it because these are the conversations that we have. You got another candidate that never even addressed it, which speaks to the fact that there is an absolute disconnect as it pertains to the understanding of what we in the urban community go through. I don't care how much money you got. I can remember driving in my hometown in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I had a car that, and I go to the hood to get my gas because I like to support inner city businesses. So this particular automobile that I drive, I drove it into the hood. I get gas. I'm leaving the gas station. All of a sudden, 4 police officers pulled me over. So I pull over and I was like, I'm at home. This is, everybody know who I am in Grand Rapids. I'm Bishop Marvin Sapp. So I pull over and I wind down my window and, they all got their hands on. I said, officer, can I help you? They said, license registration. I said, well, I just pulled off from the gas station while I was speeding. The license registration, please. I said, well, at least give me some information on why I'm giving. I said license and registration, and wind down all your windows. So I wind down all my windows. Now this is in March. It's freezing cold in Michigan. I wind down all of my windows. I give him my license registration. He says he pulled me over because I didn't have my updated tags. And I told him, I said, wait a minute, that's not true. I just put my tags on the car just before I left, because this is a car I don't even drive in the wintertime. But because the weather was nice, I put my tags on and I pulled up to go get some gas. So I just put the tags on. Let me show you. And I tried to open this. So don't open the door. And I was like, okay. I just sat there. They ran everything. And then he came back up to me and said, nice car. And I was like, okay. And at the end of the day, that was it. And I was like, I guess. But that's the type of day that we're living in. We're living in a crazy season. We're living in a crazy moment. We're living in a crazy time. And we need to know what's going on, and we need to pay attention to what's going on as well. And we need to make sure that we vote this foolishness out at the end of the day. I don't care what, I'm a conservative, totally and completely. I am conservative. And even though I'm a conservative and I benefit, totally, completely benefit from the tax breaks and all of that kind of stuff. But ain't no way in the world I'm rolling with this guy. Not at all.
Yeah.
He gotta go. He gotta go.
I think it's important you use your influence to share that message too, because at Gospel Goodies, we cover not just gospel, but just Christians overall. And 50 Cent, we didn't cover it, but he actually said that he came out and said that he is for Trump because of the tax breaks.
Yeah. I mean, the tax breaks are amazing for those who make over a certain amount of money. So it makes sense for 50 Cent to be about, those individuals that are going to benefit him financially. However, I'm a pastor who happens to be an artist. And because I'm a pastor who happens to be an artist, my members don't benefit from those tax breaks. That's my problem with the evangelicals. My problem with evangelicals are they go for three specific things. Number one, they are pro-life. Number two, it's about religious liberty. Number three, it's about Israel. Okay, fine. You say you're pro-life, I say you're pro-birth. Because if you're pro-life, you would be concerned from the cradle to the grave. That's the pro-life that I am. It's one thing for you to be about the child being birthed into this earth, but then you cut all of the policies and safety nets and all of the financial benefits that they need between ages cradle and 5. So don't tell me you're pro-life and then you're taking away everything that they need to thrive and survive. Don't tell me about, for example, prison reform, which I think was amazing. I think prison reform was an amazing thing that Donald Trump did for our country. However, if the things we don't pay attention to, almost 300 conservative judges that have federal lifetime appointments, and not one of them is minority. So you give us prison reform, but then you put judges in place that are going to literally form the laws against us. I mean, if you were serious about prison reform, would you have diversified the courts? So I mean, you give us a bone and then you take it back. It's just like throwing a rock high in your hand. Yeah. So, I just think that what we need to do now more than ever before is vote, especially out there where y'all at. Oh God.
Sure.
If y'all don't go to vote in Pennsylvania, y'all never gonna make it.
Yes, please vote. And it's like yesterday, he said, are you still good on time?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. It's like yesterday he said, and it's sort of like what you just said too about the pro-life and for actual life.
Right.
He said he said something about the only person since Lincoln to do something for the Black community, which it's like, I mean, you make a point, but then you don't make a point, because you give us something, but you don't, because at the same time, Lincoln, he didn't believe, he thought everybody should be free, but he didn't believe in the same social and political equality. So it's it's still unbalanced.
And then again, what happens is just because you say it don't make it true. And because we don't read, we don't do our due diligence, we don't study. Okay, for example, Black and brown unemployment is at an all-time low. Yeah, but there were jobs that were created that didn't take them out of poverty. Okay, so if you created more McDonald's jobs and more Burger King jobs and jobs of that nature, okay, we're able to get those jobs, but we're still in poverty. But then, again, we don't read. Obama and Biden created more jobs in their last 3 years than he created in his first 4. That's documented facts. But because we don't read and because we don't do our due diligence, that's one of the things I want to challenge everybody to do. Stop watching OAN, stop watching Fox, stop watching Stop watching CNN, stop watching all of these different media outlets, and start doing some reading due diligence-wise so that you would understand why you need to vote for who you need to vote for. And don't be stuck on 1 or 2 or 3 specific things because there's so much more as it pertains to policy that we need to take into consideration. You know, Christians, there's certain things I believe that you can't legislate. You can't legislate morality. You know, the pontiff just did something the other day. He's like, hey, let the LGBT community get married. Who cares? In essence, he's like, they're human beings, they're God's children. If they want to get married, let them get married. Now, do I agree with that? Absolutely not. But shoot, if they understood how hard marriage was, they would probably, let them have it. If that's what they want, let them have it. Because from a biblical standpoint, morally, hear me, morally, God does not recognize that. So if they want to have it on this earth, let them have it on this earth. Go ahead. Because there's a place, because of their lifestyle, biblically, no matter what your position or your theological standpoint is. I mean, it's just certain things, again, we can't legislate, and morality is one of them.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Wow.
It's interesting because I've always, my own personal feelings is that if we were ever put in the position that they've been put in,
right,
we wouldn't treat them. It's just not, character is in us for some reason.
Right. It's in us. I mean, and truthfully, the African American persuasion of church, we don't agree with that lifestyle. We never have, and 9 times out of 10, we never will. And from a biblical standpoint, we're justified. But I can't push my moral position on anyone. My responsibility is to preach the gospel and preach Him, that Jesus and Him crucified, and that's what I'm going to do. But if you decide that you want to live outside of the confines of what the biblical teachings and the biblical concepts that I've learned as the foundation of my moral standards are, that's on you. That's not on me. Because this relationship that we're supposed to have with Christ is personal. So, I think what we need to learn how to do is just listen, let everybody live their lives. Let them live their lives. And again, there's a difference to me between being pro-life and pro-birth. And I think people need to define if they're pro-life or if they're pro-birth. And then last but not least, I think one of the challenges that we have in our nation is that we have more people who are evangelical, but they're not really Christian. Because you can be more evangelical than Christian. And I think that if you're going to be a Christian, that means you need to be Christ-like. And if you're going to be Christ-like, that means you need to think about the least of these. And therein lies my challenge with a lot of evangelicals. They're not thinking about the least of these.
That's good. Well, there you have it. Vote. Let people be themselves. Have your personal relationship.
Yeah. Knowing for yourself, because that's what it's about in this season. It's about knowing the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for yourself.
Thank you, God. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this enlightening conversation. It was so good to have you. We're glad you're here with us in Philly on Philly's favorite 100.7.
Super. I'm glad to be a part of it. Amen. Make sure y'all listen to me every weekend because it's going to be on and popping. We try to keep it churchy and funky all at the same time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Y'all have a great one.